Good morning, everyone. This is Biz Chicks TV. This is the place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run. And today I want to introduce my co-host, Ms. Francine Gregory, real estate entrepreneur extraordinaire and tech diva. I'm Terralina from Terralina Designs. California Cover-Ups is our brand. And this morning we're going to be talking to Ms. Carole Copeland Thomas, who is a well-known business coach and diversity expert. And so we are, what would you say, honored to have the privilege of interviewing her this morning. And I do want to, before we get started, I do want to say this about Ms. Carole. She has traveled extensively internationally as a result of her gift. She is a well-known public speaker, author, and podcaster. She has so many skills. We've all got to have something that we want to pull on from this gift that she's bringing to the conversation. So this morning, I want to welcome Ms. Carole Copeland Thomas, who is also, I'm going to get this jab in, a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, of which my mother was a member. So I have high respect for Delta Sigma Theta, even though I am a Zeta, but my brother is a Q. So
all right. You got it all in there.
So Carole, come on and tell us all about yourself and how you got started.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being on the show. And again, I am still trying to figure out how to make myself visible. So we'll work on that too. You can hear me. So that's the most important thing. But I really look at myself as a social entrepreneur. My focus is on multiculturalism and diversity. I've been doing this work for almost 30 years, but it has taken me into different directions and taken me on many adventures and journey because I have a real thirst for knowledge. And I think just my thirst of knowledge and thirst for knowledge and helping people to see the world around them and the richness of the world around them in terms of how they can interact with other people. That's what I mean in terms of multiculturalism and diversity. So it's an exciting life, and I'm still learning, even at this stage of my life. 30 years later, being in business, the knowledge base definitely goes forward.
Nice.
Now, Carole, you know that you have given us just a snippet of your background. I was looking in here. I seen where you have collaborated on books, and that you have started a is it a nonprofit, the Student Safety Month?
Student Safety Month. It's a part of my business, so it's really not a nonprofit, but it's an educational service that I offer to anyone who wants to learn how we can help young people to become more responsible. So, yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that, because I want to get that out of the way, because I thought that was really critical part of your current bio.
Absolutely. And, I think I have figured out my my problem with the microphone. No, the microphone is fine. Let me switch here. Now, if I switch, can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So that's that. And yeah, I see what's going on with this camera, but hopefully we'll manage media settings. We'll work on that. My son was 17 years old, a very vibrant 17-year-old, and tragically was killed in an automobile accident in 1997. And as a result of his death, he was had a full academic scholarship to Morehouse College and was heading to probably law school. He was looking to go to law school, left behind a twin sister and an older sister who was finishing her degree at Spelman College. And so that tragedy was the stage for me launching Student Safety Month. And Student Safety Month is an opportunity for people to learn how they can partner and work with young people to help them to make safe choices, both on the road while they're in school and while they're having fun. My son was at a party when this happened, and started drinking at the party. Just about everybody at the party, they were all older, over 21. And so there was alcohol there. And as a result of that tragic experience, he was the only one killed in the car accident. And just all the people, the circles of people around him who were impacted by his death, obviously our family, friends. I remember like almost hundreds of high school students who walked past his funeral, his casket at the funeral, and just all of that. Those memories certainly are fresh in my mind, even though that happened 20 years ago. But with that said, I didn't want to just bury in my own sorrow and just commiserate with myself. I wanted to do something because he was a very vibrant, happy kid, very vibrant. And so I started Student Safety Month shortly after that time as an sort of an augmentation of my business to provide resources and materials and information for young people and adults to help them to make responsible choices and decisions. Now, all of us ladies, you know, we all have made some bang up decisions sometimes and just choices, split second decisions. So we are all human, very, very human. But the important relevance is to figure out how we can take our own frailties, our own mistakes, the mistakes of others, pass them on to young people so that they will make smarter choices that will keep them alive. That's the important thing. And so Student Safety Month is a part of my website. Anyone can go to CaroleCopelandThomas.com. That's my name, Carole with an E. You can go there, and I've just taken it off my homepage because it's focused on the month of June, but can be practiced at any point in the year. So they can do a search on the website for Student Safety Month. The information will pop up. There's a free guide that they can use to access and share with others, and there are a couple of videos on that same page.
Okay.
Yes.
I wanted people to be aware of that. And I think that's what led to your first, well, the book that's listed on your website about journaling.
Right, right. Yeah, personal journal is, again, tied in with this unfortunate reality that my family had faced. And as a result of that, I started this journal. I actually started journaling shortly after he died. I have about 46 volumes of journals. I journal every day. And what I'm going to do now, I am going to take this web camera off because I see that it's not allowing me to access this camera. So
yeah, there you are.
Ta-da!
Oh my gosh, so good to see you.
Good to see you, even though the light's not that great, but at least you see me.
And you look good. I mean, we can see you and it's fine. It's clear.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll actually have this journal. This is volume 47. So this is the kind of journaling that I do. It's just a simple composition notebook I picked up at Walmart. And what the book does, the book gives you a guide that you can use so that you could create the kind of journaling system that will work for you. And for me, composition notebooks or spiral bound notebooks are the kind of ways that I can journal, and I share that with others. And let me tell you why journaling is so helpful. I just came from the National Speakers Association National Conference. And on my way back home, I was on JetBlue, and on the plane, you know, I was tired because we had great events and I wanted to catch up on some sleep while I was home. And the plane literally took off and then 10 seconds later bounced to the ground. Now, that's not a good sign. I see your face. That's what I did. I woke up. I said, well, what's wrong? What is the problem? There's a problem here. And 5 minutes later, the very calm pilot came on and told us that there was an issue with the engine and that ultimately we were going to have to go to the gate. So I started posting on Facebook, not Ann Coulter posting on Twitter.
I heard about that.
Yeah. No, I didn't do that. No.
Delta? Yeah.
She was on Delta and I was on JetBlue. But I complimented the pilot because he made the right choice. We were not 30,000 feet up in the air. The engine had a problem, and he found it before we got, well, we were getting ready to get we were off the ground, but he found it in enough time for us to get back on the ground and back at the gate. So I started posting some rather positive, thank you, Jesus, Facebook posts. and you, hello. And you ladies will appreciate this because you talk a lot about tech, social media and technology. Mm-hmm. You know, the airlines all have these departments that are dedicated to social media. So whenever their name pops up, they're on it. And they monitored what I was saying and what everybody else was saying, all the amens, etc. And we actually were shifted over to another plane, but they ended up giving me, before I got to Boston, they had given me a $25 credit on a next flight and apologized for what had happened. So what I did was I talked about it in my journal, but then I took all of the Facebook clippings and I cut them out. Nice. And I clipped them to my journal, and then I have a reference to it. So I have down here, see July 13th Facebook saga. JetBlue was ready. My comments credited me for $25 for my trouble, and I have it all here. So somebody would say, oh, so what? Well, the so what is 5 or 10 years from now, you want to go back and see what you were doing in July of 2017. Wow. So instead of me recreating everything that happened, I just cut it out of Facebook, did a screenshot, cut and paste, and put it in here. So I have a permanent record of what happened in my life on that particular day.
That's so,
yeah. So, so journaling can be that simple. Journaling can be taking a picture and putting a picture of whatever in your journal. Journaling can be Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Bar Mitzvah, Hanukkah, whatever meal you're serving on a special holiday, and listing all the ingredients of that meal and then putting that in your journal so that it becomes a permanent record of what has happened to you on that particular day.
I love it.
Because
when I think of journaling, I panic because it's like, what do I have to write? You know what I mean? I just feel like my life isn't that thrilling that someone would want to read about it. But now, as I become the matriarch of the family,
I hear you.
Okay, I'm thinking, people probably want to know about my mother. Someday they actually want to know about me.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
and not just about you. They'll want to know about the little things that happen, the stuff that goes wrong, how you resolved issues, how you lost weight and what you did to lose weight, or you changed your hair color. Just the little everyday things that are often missed that become an important part of who people are.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wow. Karen is so true.
Yeah, Karen is a journaler. Karen has journals for everything. Money journal, business journal.
Yeah.
Karen is the journal queen. Maybe not. Maybe the two of you are now tied because yours is very detailed. And I saw a digital version of what you just talked about. Day One is a journal. It's an app. And I never could figure out how I wanted to use it. I was just like, okay, it's here. I have this app. What am I going to do with it? But when you said take a copy or a screenshot of the conversation that you had on Facebook or comments or something to that effect and attach it to a significant part of your journal.
Oh, what's the name of the app? She says.
Oh, Day One. It's called Day One. That is amazing. So now I have use for Day One.
Yeah, and again, I'm techie like you ladies. I do a lot of things online. I have a lot of information online, but there's something about a hardback journal, and that's what my book talks about, that makes it tangible and credible because digital, can evaporate, can disappear. Something you can hit the wrong button and lose it. Like I lost my calendar a couple of years ago and all the dates disappeared. So stuff can happen. Yeah, that's a nightmare. Stuff can happen. But when I have a whole case now of all these journals, and when you can go back and pull them out. See, the important thing is being able to pull them out and make a progressive evaluation of where your life was, let's say 5 or 6 years ago, and where your life is now. That's the important progression that we're talking about. And you can do the same thing whether you're talking about diversity or multicultural issues. Maybe you felt X way 30 years ago, and now you feel this way because of the experiences that have taken place. And when you can physically put that into a document, whether you cut and paste it or whatever, and then go back and read it, it's very powerful. It's therapeutic too.
So is this the same thing that people used to do when they wrote in a diary?
Yes. It is the same thing. And on my website, I also talk about, there's a researcher at one of the universities, I believe in Texas. I actually interviewed him on my blog talk show, and he's now done research on people to show where journaling is therapeutically good for you and can help you through difficult times, difficult circumstances, and can literally help to improve your mental and physical well-being by journaling. So there's scientific proof that it's also very valuable. So whether you call it a diary, a journal, a log, or whatever, the important thing is that you're collecting and writing down your thoughts. And then ultimately, from my perspective, channeling and charting where your progress is, whether you're looking to improve yourself career-wise, culturally, etc.
I see. Well, I do know that you have 30 minutes on the page where the book is listed on your site. You have that 30-minute, is it a
interview
video or audio where he's talking?
Correct. Yes.
Is talking. So people want to know more about him and the therapeutic aspects of journaling. It is on her site.
Right. And now what I'll do while I'm talking to you, I'll pull it up so I can, I'll actually put the link in your chat box.
Be great.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so, Carole, can we buy that book on your site?
Yeah, sure.
Page.
Sure.
Right from the page, right?
Right. I will, under books, you'll see my personal journal. And again, I will put that link on your chat box as well. I'll also, all the books are there. So I will put that link there, and you'll be able to see it. And then I'll also put the link, I'm putting the link for all the books now on the site. Mm-hmm. And then I'll also put the link for the interview under personal journal, and you'll be able to read that. So I will. It's under about the book, and the doctor's name is Dr. Pennebaker.
I could not pronounce that.
Yes, Centennial Liberal Arts Professor and Chair of the Department of Psychology with the University of Texas in Austin. So yes, I will also put that link on in your chat box as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I do want to say that I have a background in what would you call it? Compliance.
Oh, okay.
I was the Director of Housing for the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Mm-hmm. So we would send out investigators to investigate housing discrimination, public accommodations, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Right after the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Yes. Well, in the 70s, then we got the enforcement and we began to do these things. So right. I was looking at your bio and I was saying, wow, she really turned this into a positive. From compliance to how to just interact with each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm amazed. Where did you get the inspiration to do that? And how did you turn that into such a positive outcome?
Well, it's an evolution. All of us here, you're now a broadcaster on the internet, having been a compliance officer. So, it's all an evolution, but it's so interesting, Teralina, that you would say that, because you referenced the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Mhm.
I now, with part of my business, I'm taking people around the world with my traveling. And so we just got back from a trip from Cuba. I had almost 20 people that I started off with in St. Augustine, Florida. We started there because slaves escaped south in the 1700s. And they landed in a settlement area called Fort Mose. They actually built a fort there. It was part of Spanish territory. They converted to Catholicism, pledged their allegiance to the Spanish government, and then immediately became freed, or thereafter they became freed. And they set up a settlement there until 1768, and then they went off to Cuba after that point when the Spanish lost the land to the British. So I recreated that experience for these travelers. We were in St. Augustine going back to 1730s, 1740s, learning about the Africans who were there, intermingling with the Indians and the Spanish. There was a lot of intermingling and intermixing at that time. And then the wonderful tour guide took us up to the civil rights era because there was a lot of civil rights history there. There's a building in downtown St. Augustine, and it used to be a former Woolworth. And there was protesting during that time in 1963, 1964 at a lunch counter at Woolworths. So the building is still there. The doors of Woolworth are still there, but it's now a Wells Fargo bank and a jewelry store. And Wells Fargo, in dedication to what happened during that time, has taken a piece of the beginning of their space and recreated the lunch counter that existed in 1964. So picture that. You got these Woolworth doors, glass doors with Woolworth embedded, and you have this lunch counter. One of my travelers, this is diversity. This is I'm answering your question. One of my travelers is from the Caribbean and disconnected the civil rights era with Florida. When she saw, and she was standing in that space with that building, understanding about Woolworth, her head exploded. She literally grabbed her head. She said, "Oh my God, now I understand it."
She gets it.
She gets it. I understand that Florida also participated in the civil rights movement. She eventually went back, got some earrings from that jewelry store, and wore those earrings throughout the trip. We were in Cuba. She never took those earrings off. She said, "I wanted a piece of something that is connected to the past in St. Augustine."
Wow.
So my journey in terms of diversity has come from just straight training, development, speaking, which is the base of what I do, to include events with my multicultural conferences, books. We just talked about the journal and other books that I've written, and this whole travel experience, so that I'm taking people around the world. We've been to India. I'm going on a Kenya safari next year. We're going back to Cuba next year. We're going back to India. So taking people on these experiences where they're living well in hotels and stuff, but they are understanding the historical impact and the importance from a contemporary point of view of the destination that we're exploring. That's the important thing.
Because I'm sure when you explained to her, it was about more than that lunch counter, which is the reason why she could stay at that hotel tonight.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and not only that, that St. Augustine is also famous. Again, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, there was a famous hotel called the Munson Hotel in St. Augustine, owned by a white gentleman who did not want blacks in his hotel or his swimming pool. So a group of freedom fighters, young teenagers, whites who were progressive leading this march, checked into the hotel. You know where I'm going with this. Checked into the hotel. Kids checked in also. They then staged almost like a sit-in, and they jumped in the pool. The owner was so outraged. This is 1964, June of 1964. He was so outraged that he went and got cleaning supplies, including acid that he used to clean his pool, and began to pour it in the pool. And the kids are freaking out. You can see them just, very terrified. White, one of their leaders is gathering them up and getting them out of the water. And this was photoed, and the photo went viral around the world. One of the young people in the pool is somebody I know, Mimi Ford Jones, who lives here in Boston. So they all survived. No one was critically hurt at all, but it could have hurt them. That incident and others led to the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Wow.
So, when you can physically go to cities like that, go to towns, you can help people to understand why diversity is important, why compliance is important, multiculturalism, then people can see, oh, this is what they're getting at. This is what they're talking about. So I try to provide those kind of experiences so that people can internalize it, personalize it, and then become committed action champions for change.
I like that. Committed action champions for change.
Yep.
Aha! I love it. I love
it. And Linda of Gotta Be Handmade says, I want to go on a tour.
And I know it is. I learned so much in just those few minutes. You know what I'm saying? Because my sorority sisters were saying, "Do you want to go see the movie Selma?" I said, "No, I am Selma."
Yeah,
because that was us. You know what I'm talking about, Carole?
Right.
But I love history. So when we started talking about all of these things, and recently they have been talking about how in Texas a lot of the what would you call them? The resting places of Hispanics, Latinos, who had these, what would you call them, cemeteries, that they just covered over these cemeteries, just neglected them, they're unmarked, and there's a lot going on, and they're trying to preserve them. There's so much history that we miss. And then they were talking about how that we had these, what do you call these things? Prison camps all over the United States during World War II.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Internment camps. Yes.
No, prison camps.
Prison camps. Oh, story about that.
Yeah.
You want to hear my family story about that? Okay. My father was a Tuskegee Airman. And your guests probably know that the airmen were part of the U.S. Army Air Corps. They were Black soldiers. Some went to college, some didn't. My dad graduated from college. They trained at Tuskegee Institute on that campus, and then went off to war during World War II.
That was part of that corps.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. And that eventually became the Air Force. The U.S. Army Air Corps became part of the Air Force. So my dad was an airman. He was an officer, a second lieutenant. He did not go overseas, but he managed troops here in the States, during the States. He was leading a mission or doing something that required him to go from one base to the next. This is around 1943 or so. And he was on a train in the South with his men. And so they were on one train. On another train were these German prisoners of war going to a prison camp in the United States. They stopped at a pre-described or a pre-scheduled restaurant where they were going to pick up food. The Black soldiers, including my father, who's an officer, stayed on the train where cold lunches were brought to them on the train. In the other car, the German prisoners of war were escorted off the train and taken in the restaurant to have a hot meal, and then put back on the train, and then they continued on their journey. Real story, World War II. Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
It is unfathomable to me how people can be so just
and
so
it's amazing
anti-people.
And how quickly we forget.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, my dad was in the Air Force, in the colored Air Corps that became
Yeah, but
became the
that
United
Air
States.
Corps was saving their behinds in the air.
Yes, and covering
Right.
everybody.
Right. Exactly.
They were calling for the red tails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's those red tail stories. I interviewed the nephew of a Tuskegee airman who tragically was shot down over the Mediterranean in France during the war. And I didn't realize this, but the United States government maintains cemeteries in parts of the world based on the engagement that's taken place. And they have at least 2 cemeteries, I didn't either, in France. One of them in the south of France near the Mediterranean. And so this famous soldier, Langston Johnson is his name. I believe he was a second lieutenant or Lieutenant Langston Johnson, college graduate, Tuskegee Airman, was flying as an escort bomber for the white bombers. And the white bombers wanted the Tuskegee Airmen. They asked for the Tuskegee Airmen because they knew they were skilled and they knew they were very good at what they did.
Great record.
They had a wonderful record. And this gentleman, unfortunately, was shot down and his body was never recovered. But they still honor him to this day in this cemetery in the south of France that is maintained by the United States government. So his nephew happened to go over to France and just wanted to see the area where his uncle lived because he had heard about this uncle his entire life. He stumbled and went to this cemetery, gave the name of his uncle, and it was like, oh, yes, Langston. Oh, he's one of our boys. Yes, we've honored him and we have him here. His name was inscribed on the wall. They treated this person, this gentleman, like he was a celebrity. So that's a beautiful reminder that at least in some pockets, things are not forgotten. And certainly when it comes to the Tuskegee Airmen, they were great men, great aviators.
And it's true, also sad, that normally if our people go out of the country, we are celebrated more than we are at home.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. In music, in dance, in theater, in writing. Yes. In the cultural arts. You're true. You're correct.
The lady that is a sculptor, she's a sculptor. Mm-hmm. I'm like, who is this woman? We never knew about her, but in Europe, she is like famous.
Wow. Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm gonna ask you this now. I know that you do business coaching, and yes, on your site you said it's customized.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that. Yeah, Josephine Baker. Yeah,
a great dancer. Yeah. Dancing with her bananas. Her little tutu.
Which was very risque.
Yes. Gail said, I can do that. Yeah, right. I can too. In the shower.
I can do that. Okay, well, Gail, this ship has sailed. If I put on that little outfit, y'all would run out the door. You wouldn't have to get in, that's for sure. But I want to ask you, can you tell us more about your business coaching?
Mm-hmm. Certainly. 30 years, I have had the pleasure of coaching many people, both formally and informally. And I wanted to provide an opportunity for people at their own convenience to have a coaching experience where they could either grow their career path or grow their business. And so MSS, everything that I do now starts off with MSS, which stands for Multicultural Symposium Series. So whether it's my conferences or the travel and tour business that I have, or in this case, the Coaching Academy starts off with MSS. So MSS Coaching Academy is an online coaching experience with different packages that are designed to help people to grow their career, their business, or both. So I'm very, very excited because we started it off in June. I have people who are signing up for it. And it is totally customized. So I give them a very extensive profile that they fill out at the beginning, and it gives me background information about them, their families, themselves, their strengths, their weaknesses. I want to have a real sense of who the individual is. And then I invite them, this is strictly voluntary, to take a Gallup survey. We have like Myers-Briggs and some of the other surveys, but Gallup has a very comprehensive survey that I find quite revealing about ourselves. And I ask them to go on and take that and then send me the results of it. I don't want to know everything, but I want to know the results of it. So I can incorporate that in with the journey that they're encountering with coaching. So it gives me an external perspective of who they are. They've done their own profile, but then externally, this Gallup survey and the results, I have a chance to match up what they're saying and what the survey has said. And so far, very revealing, things are working out. So they're 1 hour sessions, and individuals can sign up for either a 10 1 hour session package or a 20 hour session, 20 hours altogether, 21 hour sessions, or 30 hours. And it's all on my website at CaroleCopelandThomas.com. We have some free webinars coming up this month where people can kick the tires and ask me questions about it. Those dates are going to be released a little bit later on today. You'll see the dates that are up there, but you'll have a chance to actually sign up. In a couple of hours, I'll get that all set up. But in the meantime, people can find out more about it because there is a section on the website that talks about how I coach, my approach to coaching. And it's just all about helping people to really move ahead in their lives. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I love working with people. So I enjoy this experience.
Wow.
Thank you so much. So if they want to take advantage of these services, they can go straight to the website, correct?
Absolutely. And I'll put the web address up here as well. It's my name, Carole Copeland Thomas, and you'll see on the menu bar where you can learn more about it.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you. We want people to have access.
Sure.
I'm hogging all the questions. Fred, did you have something?
No, you're doing well. You're doing quite well.
Well, I did go through your site, and I was finding all of these wonderful opportunities. I said, how could you do all of these things at one time? I mean, how often do you take these trips? And what made you decide on India?
So far, I have done up to 2 trips a year. So it's not like every day. And the trip to India is as much as 2 weeks. The trip to Cuba, including Florida, is 1 week. So you're just talking about 3 weeks out the year. Uh-huh. I will probably do no more than 4 trips a year. And if that part of my business expands, then I'll probably bring in I became certified as an certified international tour manager. So I have friends and colleagues who are also certified. I would bring them in to run trips if in fact we expand to that level. So it's not people, you look at some of the activities and you say, wow, when does she have time to sleep? Well, I do. and even this summer, my lovely grandchildren are running around my house right now, 6 and 9, because I have them for part of the summer. Mm-hmm. And so I have time for family time as well. So it's just maximizing and doing what I want people to do. It's not just talking about it. I want to do what I want people to do. I started going to India in 2014 as a church-related trip and fell in love with India. Fell in love with the clothes. I wear a lot of Indian outfits and was fortunate enough to take a group back in 2015. We took 37 back to southern India in 2015. And so now it's become a yearly experience. It's a cultural immersion trip. So it's not a mission trip where you stay and live with people and dig wells. No, we don't do that. But we stay in very nice hotels, eat great food, but actually go to the villages and work with people, have great conversations, learn about how we can support and help them financially and other ways. So I have a long-term relationship with several people in India, in southern India. And then this year I went to northern India for the first time. That's Delhi, Agra, and Jaipur, including the Taj Mahal, which is spectacular. Absolutely. It's incomprehensible. It's just a spectacular place. So we do the regular tourist activities, but we also have many opportunities to have people to people dialogue with our friends in India.
Nice.
Yes.
I don't think I would have ever picked India. And that's why I was saying, I wonder what motivated her to pick India.
Well, believe it or not, there are about 152 AME churches in India.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. All started by a sister, a black, a Delta, who's a pastor now. She was in seminary about 12 or 13 years ago, and she had a field trip to India, befriended another sister, an Indian woman who was in seminary with her, and they're both dark skinned. Now, India has a color issue.
Has a caste.
So it has a caste system and it has a color issue.
Okay.
2 issues. And people are impacted by that to this day. So because they were dark skinned, and Reverend Dr. Carole Cooper here looked at Reverend Sarah Abraham there and said, I have relatives who look like her. I have aunts who look like her. They just hit it off. And one thing led to another. Reverend Sarah Abraham and her husband were leading small churches, family-run churches in India. So ultimately, between 2003 and 2008, they officially became affiliated with the AME Church. And so now there are 152 churches in India, all over India, in Nepal, which is the neighboring country, and Sri Lanka, which is the island country to the southeast of India. So it's a wonderful experience to watch that grow, to be a part of that, and to know that the Christian church in India is alive and well. They are persecuted. There are some dynamics that go on there politically, but they have a very wonderful community throughout the country.
Wow.
Yes.
That's something else we learned today. The churches are being established in India at a record pace.
Right. And the thing is, you made a great statement. Do you have any idea of how old the Christian church is in India?
I have no idea.
It goes back to the disciples of Christ.
Really?
Yes, because it hasn't been absolutely proven where he died, but St. Thomas, one of the disciples of Christ, evangelized in India and traveled in India, and unfortunately was murdered in India around 72 AD. So Christianity goes back to the very beginning.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
That was the Thomas that Christ said, okay, here, put your hand.
Doubting Thomas?
Yes.
Yep.
But
so between 52 and 72 AD, he evangelized in southern India and the Kerala area, came over to southeastern India, Madras, which is now called Chennai. That's the area that we go to. And that's where he allegedly was killed. But there's a big basilica in Chennai. There's a big area, the Shrine of St. Thomas that we go to. And so it's quite fascinating. Lots of merging religions in India.
Yeah.
Very diverse.
Nice.
Wow. See, now we're going to have to take a trip, friend. We're going to have to take
There you
get on the site and find out where are these trips happening, because I need to get out of town.
Yeah. Well, you ladies are doing a great job, though. Doing a great job.
Thank you.
So how often, I know they, on the site it said that you had a radio talk show. So
Yes.
do you still have that show?
I do. Yes. It's I'm on Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, Terry, get out of town.
Yep, I'm on Blog Talk Radio, and every Thursday, with some exceptions. This Thursday I will be on. Next Thursday I have a diversity conference to attend. But yes, on every Thursday at 1 p.m. And we talk about a number of topics. It's called Focus on Empowerment. I started off talking about my trip to Cuba. So I've broken it up into different parts. And so we'll continue giving more explicit information about what we did on the trip to Florida and Cuba. And we talk about cultural issues. I talk about letting it go and just,
Okay.
bringing your mind, letting it go, moving on. Sometimes you have to do that. So we do a lot of personal development work on Focus on Empowerment. I actually been on the radio since 1999 or so. I was on the radio on 9/11. I was actually on live terrestrial radio with a radio station here in Boston called WILD. That's how I got started on radio. So I ended up, was doing a workshop on 9/11 when the planes hit, scrambled, left downtown Boston, jumped on the air, was on the air for the rest of the afternoon talking about this man, Osama bin Laden, with another colleague. We were getting ABC feed, and that was giving us our news information. So, yeah, I've been on the air for a while.
Look, you are wonderful.
Wow.
Well, you ladies rock, I tell you. I'm just so honored to know you.
We're like, wow.
I know. It's like there's no area of communication you really have not touched.
Yeah, but it's excellent communication, and the legacy that you are leaving is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I believe you have to live life to the fullest. I believe that there's nothing guaranteed. Life is not fair, but we have a lot that we can share with other people. And particularly in this country, we take what we have totally for granted. When you travel outside of the United States, me just coming back from Cuba, seeing what the embargo did to them, it made the Cubans more resilient. It didn't kill them. It made them more resilient. And they've learned how to live without. When you see those cars, the old cars that they have totally fixed up and refurbished, and they're driving them like 80 miles an hour. So, I mean, they've taken parts and mixed and hybrid stuff together that you can't even imagine. Those cars are zooming down the street, and they're 60 years old. They're 60-year-old vehicles. It is amazing. We went to one community center in Havana that's off the beaten path, just a great place. And they have music, that they have a little band that they've made up. They have music. And somebody said, isn't the Cuba literacy rate? It is 90%. It's the highest in the Caribbean and Central America. It is. It's very, very high. School is mandatory, but they take wine bottles, and they're using wine bottles for rolling pins. So in this art center, as they're mixing together the clay and the dough, instead of using a wooden rolling pin, they use a wine bottle and roll out that clay. I said, whoa. They take old typewriters and sewing machines and make art out of them. It is just such a colorful, rich place. And the people are so warm. They're very warm and hospitable. So just being in that country is an educational lesson in and of itself. Anywhere you go is going to be a lesson. St. Augustine, Florida, wherever you happen to live, can be a place where you can learn about the history of the area and learn about ourselves and others.
Wow.
Okay, now, we just did a workshop, Francine and I, Francine, on
it was both of us.
Is that right, Francine?
Both of us.
For young entrepreneurs. And my question is, what do you want us to leave this interview with that we can share with young people or anyone who's trying to get started in communications? Yeah, I'm saying communications because your resume is so big. That's the only arm around it. Go ahead.
Understand that in this day and time, nothing is guaranteed. You can have the best education and you can still lose your job. So you have to prepare for multiple streams of income. And I would say with my coaching program that I have, I'm helping to prepare people for multiple streams of income, because people who are attracted to my services typically have full-time jobs, but they're doing something on the side.
Mhm.
So always keep in mind that your skill sets will be very valuable in one area of your life, but don't ignore the other talents that you have. You may have some talents that will never get exploited or used or leveraged on a 9-to-5 job. So don't let them go dormant. See what you can do to either start a business or volunteer or get involved in a project or do something where you can fully use yourself to the maximum amount of your capabilities. A lot of people die with their trumpets unblurted or unsold and their songs untold. And so I want to help people to really lift their voices out, lift their talents, and do it in a way that's meaningful for everybody.
Wow. This has been a very eye-opening reminders for all of us. Pat says, I just remember my cartooning skills, and I'm coming out with her t-shirt line later this week.
Good.
Hey.
Good.
Fantastic. We're excited. When we get to see the t-shirts, will you be on the air so we can see the t-shirt?
And I agree, Coach Karen, it has been a beautiful hour. I have learned so much. I have been inspired, like, okay, I can do that. We can teach this. We can help with that. I love history. I have family that's in Cuba, never met them, but I'm like,
really? Huh? There you go.
Because my family came from Jamaica. My grandfather and my great grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a whole thing over there. And I'm like, we got cousins that ended up in Cuba and London and all over the place. And I'm like,
Right. So that's a life project for you.
Yeah.
To really explore and get to know your people. Because Jamaica is right underneath Cuba. And what I was told, the medical system is rich in Cuba. I had a very unfortunate situation that happened in Cuba with one of my travelers, and we unfortunately were exposed to the medical system because of her circumstances, and just wonderful people and very, very talented doctors and medical staff. They have public clinics in every neighborhood in Cuba.
Wow.
And doctors from Jamaica go to Cuba to train because the medical school is that good. So yeah, it's I push you to learn more about your roots and the people who are probably in Santiago, which is the eastern part of Cuba. Would love to hear more about that from you.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to you because I'd like to figure out how I can reach out that way.
Yes. Yeah. Great. And I'm going to invite you ladies on my radio show, and probably will do a Zoom cast and put that on my website, because I just love what you guys are doing. Every day you're at it. You are at it.
We might be related.
Hey.
The lady told me the other day, she says, the thing I love about you is you are on your grind.
That's right.
We got to talking about business. It's like, okay. Yes, Pat, we are all cousins. That's what my dad used to call us. I see some cousins over there.
and the thing is, I have orientation sessions for my travelers, so I just don't put them on a plane and take. No. You got to go through school with me, so that when you leave the country, you are fully aware of what you're going to experience. So we have a couple of sessions, and on the last two, I said, now we're going to leave politics at home. We know there are dynamics going on between the U.S. and Cuba. We're going to leave that at home. 45, that's another issue. We're not going to deal with him either. We couldn't get off the plane before people coming up to us saying, we love Obama. We love Obama. We don't like Trump. We love Obama. I mean, just openly, openly telling us, openly. Yeah. So they're very aware. They're impacted by the political things that are taking place in our country, but they love President Obama. They had pictures of him everywhere. Yes.
Well, I know that Cuba offered medical scholarships to U.S. students. I think was it, several years ago, they offered 25 fully paid
Probably.
scholarships to their med school
Yeah.
program there in Cuba. So they have, but of course there was an embargo. I don't know how many people were able to accept.
Yeah, their medical school is one of the best medical schools, certainly in this hemisphere and probably in the world. It is a top-notch medical school. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm inspired.
And Karen is saying that her doctors from Guyana had to do 5 years of service before they could practice in the hospitals, but they got their training evidently there.
In Cuba. Yeah, it is the place where I actually met a physician from Venezuela at the airport, and he affirmed the success of their medical system. This is as we were leaving Cuba, coming back here to the States. He travels to the States, he travels back to Venezuela, but he was in Cuba doing business. So it's well known for their medical practices, and as a result of it, probably their infant mortality rate is lower, much lower. A lot of their other diseases that would be commonplace in other parts of the Caribbean and Central America are not what they are because the government has such a very strong medical system in place. And I saw the clinics, the public Polito Clinic. I saw the public clinics that they have, went in one of them, and just great staff.
Wow. Imagine, and we'll have to talk about this later. Imagine if we had public clinics. I remember here in Sacramento, they had community hospitals. In the neighborhoods, they had community hospitals where people could go and get help. And then they took out, and now you almost have to drive 15, 20 miles to get to help.
Yes. Yes.
The community hospital idea might be an issue solver for us.
Could be. Bring back sort of like a public library? No.
And the thing is, people in Cuba don't make much money. The doctors don't make, maybe $50 a month, and the average folks may make $20 a month, but they have free health insurance, free education, including college. All the other systems are paid for by the government. And so they don't have the stuff that we have to deal with. Some of them, if they live in housing in certain parts of, let's say, suburban or rural Havana, or in some of the rural areas elsewhere, some of them don't have to pay for their housing because they're technically in government housing. We went to a wonderful eco-friendly community outside of Havana, beautiful place. And some of those places were government houses where people can stay there for free. They just maintain it. So because they're socialized, they practice socialism more so than communism. Socialism in Cuba, a lot of their services are free, and so their cost of living is lower, and the people don't make as much money as people would make elsewhere. But it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Carole, we just want to thank you.
We just want to say thank you so much, Carole, for taking the time to join us on a coffee talk today. This is indeed, as in Dr. Vibe's vernacular, an epic conversation. And you're invited to come back anytime. Let us know, and we will love to have you again to talk about a different aspect of what you do. Sure. Everyone who's watching live, we want to thank you for tuning in, because you could have been somewhere else, but you came and spent an hour with us. The people who are watching on the replay, stick to the end. People, stick to the end, because it's going to be worth it. Or this is the end. Go back and review it from the beginning. We want to thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see everyone back tomorrow. TJ's birthday is today, so we've got
birthday, TJ.
Happy birthday.
TJ, not Terry Austin, but TJ out with family and doing her birthday thing. So you can catch her, TJ, online or at WebGirl TJ. And if we can all just send her a little love on her birthday, we'd appreciate it.
Great. And you ladies rock. I tell you, I've learned so much just listening to your programs, learning about technology, this Heil mic that I have here, and some of my other equipment I owe to you and others who have taught me an awful lot. So I just say Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad that's what we're here to do. Just help people. Let's all get along and learn multiple streams together.
Awesome.
Gail was talking about she and TJ.
Yeah, talking about TJ.
Another Cancerian on deck. All right.
So fun. All right. We will see you tomorrow. TJ will be back tomorrow, and she'll be talking about using social for business. So, tune in. And thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.